All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're taking a closer look at Mahindra and Mahindra's latest quarterly results. Now, the headline numbers look great for sure, but as you're about to see, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The real story here is about some major strategic turnarounds and some seriously disciplined execution. So, right off the bat, you see this number, a massive 66% jump in operating profit. And yeah, that's a huge signal that things are going well. But to really truly get what's happening at Mahindra, we have to dig a lot deeper than just that one profit figure. And this is the key, coming straight from the group's CEO himself. The real story isn't just that they made a lot of money, it's how they did it. You see, this quarter is a huge turning point for a few key businesses that have been quietly transforming behind the scenes. So let's zero in on those. We're going to look at three specific parts of the company that frankly used to be problem areas. And now? Well, now they're shaping up to be powerful new engines for growth. These are the breakthroughs we need to talk about. First on the list, Mahindra Finance. For the last 3 years, the conversation here was not about growth at all, not even a little bit. It was all about repair. They pretty much put growth on the back burner to focus on fixing some really fundamental problems inside the business. Just look at this contrast. It's pretty much night and day. In the past, the business was dealing with really volatile asset quality. Non-performing assets would just spike every time there was a crisis. But now, they've wrestled it under control, keeping it steady below 4%. They've gone from these clunky manual processes to smooth tech-driven controls. And the result of all that hard work? After 3 years of just looking inward, Mahindra Finance is officially back in growth mode. So, how'd they pull it off? Well, it wasn't magic. It was a very clear 3-step playbook. First, they brought in a powerful new management team from some of the top banks. Then, they poured money into a massive tech overhaul. They went from old-school processes that needed 76 physical signatures down to a single digital one. And finally, they were just relentless about stabilizing the quality of their assets. This was a deliberate, disciplined strategy, and it clearly worked. Okay, let's move on to the second breakthrough story, Mahindra Life Spaces, which is the company's real estate business. The big number here is a 5-fold, that's 5x increase in profits. But you guessed it, that number alone isn't the whole story. This isn't just some one-off win from a single project finishing up. No, this is a sign of a much healthier, much more efficient business that's really starting to hit its stride. So, what's really happening under the hood? Well, for one, there's a whole new sense of urgency thanks to new leadership. Projects are actually getting finished with the profit they were supposed to have, which is a huge sign of good execution. Their pipeline for buying new land is strong. And maybe the biggest signal of all, they're attracting serious foreign money, like the recent deal with Japan's Mitsui Fudosan. That's a massive vote of confidence in their long-term plan. And that brings us to the final turnaround story, Mahindra Logistics. And believe me, this one has been a long time coming. Think about this. For 11 straight quarters, that's almost 3 years, this business was losing money. This quarter, it finally turned a profit. Now, the profit itself is just a first step, but the real breakthrough is the execution under new leadership that made it possible. It proves the turnaround model is working, and it sets them up for future growth, especially with all the momentum in the auto and e-commerce spaces. Now, it's super important to put all these breakthroughs in context. They aren't just happening in a vacuum. They're adding new horsepower to what was already a very strong core business engine. On one side, you have the auto sector, which is just on fire. SUV volumes are up 26%, and they're holding on to that #1 market spot thanks to their popular models. Then you've got the farm sector. Its domestic business is doing really well too, but the overall profit got dragged down a bit by some issues in their international businesses. But even there, you've got this bright spot, the new farm machinery division, where revenues shot up 45%. So the key takeaway is this: these turnarounds are pure upside on top of an already solid base. Okay, so what does all of this mean if you're looking at Mahindra not just for this quarter, but for the long haul? Let's put on our institutional investor hat for a second here.
The biggest question an investor is always going to ask is this: are these just one-time wins, or do they signal a real fundamental shift in the company's ability to perform year after year? What can we learn about the future from these turnarounds?
And when you really break it down, 4 very clear signals pop out. First, this management team has proven they can actually pull off complex turnarounds. That's huge. Second, their intense focus on discipline, technology, and controls makes the business way less risky going forward. Third, businesses that used to be a drag on the bottom line are now becoming new engines for growth. And finally, that thumbs up from foreign investors like Mitsui Fudosan, it shows that smart money from the outside is buying into this whole transformation story.
At the end of the day, what all this really points to is a cultural shift. This success isn't random. It's the direct result of a disciplined, focused, and repeatable playbook that they're using across the board to get consistent, predictable results.
And that just leaves us with one final, and I think fascinating question. Now that Mahindra has proven its turnaround playbook works on finance, on real estate, and on logistics, what's next? Where are they going to apply this successful formula to unlock even more value in the future? That is the key question for every investor to watch.